In today's show,
I feel that if I have a voice, I should create a movement with it. And having the responsibility of having a magazine, that's really what you should do. Because if you control the media, you control the industry is really how it works for most industries.
You're a contributor, Chico?
Yeah, I'm one of the, one of the journalists.
Yes.
Feather in my cap. I got a GED and I'm published.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
One of us got our GEDs because I didn't.
Welcome back to the Ink Different Tattoos podcast. I am your co-host, Paul Anthony Surti, and today, as my other co-host, is Chico Cortez. And we are here with Frankie Scorpion. And
hi, guys.
So happy to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Well, we've been getting to know each other, and you've shared with me so much. Right? When I try to keep track of all the things that you're doing and all the things that you're up to, it's a little challenging. So I'm glad to have you here.
I know you have to be in my ADHD mindset.
and it inspires me to see how inspired you are. Right? I mean, we had a dinner and you shared with me so many things that you're up to, and literally, I don't know. There's few people that are as manic as I am about getting things done, and you are one of those people.
Thank you. It's
absolutely.
A compliment.
Phil and Chico connected us, and Chico, thanks for bringing Frankie into our orbit. I wanted to talk about a few things that you're up to. Right, there's a couple of them. Mm-hmm. You're talking about putting on an all-female expo.
Yes, so we have the Tattoo Socialite Arts Festival, which is the only all-female tattoo expo here in the United States, and the second one in the world right now, but third one ever existing. Dina Lipton is the one who did the first one, which was Mark for Life. So this one, we're going to pay homage to not only womanhood, but also the arts of that. So we're accepting portfolios to be instated into the convention. So we are going to check out portfolios. We're not just accepting anybody, but we do want to give the chance to maybe some newbies. So we will be giving some newbies out there some opportunities.
Awesome.
And we're real excited about that, because we also have judges that are going to be pioneer judges. So we're not just choosing men or other women that haven't really established themselves in it. So we've got Judy Parker, we've got Jackie Grisham, we've got Peggy Hurley and Kathy Monty. And of course, Dina is going to be invited for one of those days to participate in that. Aside from that, we've got Liz Cook, who's one of our featured artists, which is a phenomenal artist. And we also have Triple X Jess, which was on Best in Ink show. So we'll have her as well.
It's a lot of big names.
Yeah. So we have some performers. Even our performers are all females. We try to really keep it that way. We are giving Highlands County tattoo artists the ability to get a half a booth, because a lot of the shop's owners are men and they don't really support their female artists. So we want to give them the opportunity to be able to afford it, since we are there to build the community in that area, in the Highlands County area.
Cool. And then what dates are we talking about?
It's October 10th to the 12th, 2025. We also have a contest for the mascot. So female artists can submit their artwork for their version of a tattooed Barbie, and the winner will win $500, as well as being put on 2 billboards in 2 different counties and get a feature in Inkvasion Magazine. And then we'll also have a 25-foot backdrop of that tattooed Barbie on stage.
Wow. Okay. So what got you inspired to get into the tattoo industry? Because I mean, even just with that, it's like, yeah, I'm up to stuff and I'm in, and I'm down and I'm in. So what got you into the tattooing space? What attracted you?
So I was an outlaw most of my life. I was also one of the bad bunch of the only type of girls that used to get tattooed. So back then it was a rite of passage to get tattooed, especially if you were one of the wild ones. And so I was always tattooed from the age of 18 on. But what got me into the industry was I created the first tattoo sisterhood called the Gypsy Queens back in 2005. We had almost about 10,000 members when MySpace was really big. And it was great because we had a chapter in every state. We had GQ Go Green program, which we would adopt a highway. So South Carolina got our name on the highway because we cleaned it up for them. We also did a lot of charity events, and we did conventions. With the conventions was the fun part. So we would bring in all the girls to the tattoo contest productions, and we were able to bring in our girls for free, which was really a lot of fun. And we would have meet and greets, which means I would do motivational speeches to empower women and show them that they can thrive, even though if they've had traumas or disabilities in their life, they could still move forward. And through our organization, we help them do that as well.
Wow. And what's the organization?
It was the Gypsy Queens.
Oh, through the Gypsy Queens.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
shut it down in 2010 just because Facebook shifted everything. And at that point, I learned how to monetize it to be able to fund it because I was funding it myself as a single parent. And it was emotionally and physically and financially depleting. But when I finally figured out how to monetize it and run it like a sisterhood, like the way a biker club would run their stuff with dues and stuff, it was too late. You can't recondition a group of women to accept that when they're already used to doing things, the way they were doing them.
Understandable, right? Yeah, and then you pivot it, and everybody's like, "Wait, but I thought it was this way."
Yeah,
right. So if you'd start out that way from the beginning, then you'd have people in it that's what they understood and how they went forward. Right?
Exactly. Plus, it was a learning curve for me as well. So I met a lot of women that I still consider my sisters through that, and we had trials and tribulations with our relationship because I was learning how to be a businesswoman. I didn't know what I was doing. Prior to that, I was just a stripper. So I led a very different lifestyle. So with that, I got to learn what not to do this time around, which comes to my next project, which will be launching the next sisterhood for the tattoo industry called Sisters by Ink. And we will have chapters, and this time we will have dues, which is like subscriptions or memberships. So people are more used to it now. But that will help us fund chapter merchandise, chapter banners, events, having our presidents and vice presidents go to different, reunions that you would do to support other chapters and stuff. But our main thing with that is not just the affiliation programs and getting in cheaper tickets for conventions or rock concerts or rap concerts, but also to be able to build this unity amongst the women and to give them resources. So our website will have resources for domestic violence, rape victim units, mental health, also Legal Shield, which will be one of our affiliates for women who are in narcissistic domestic violence relationships, so they can afford to have legal aid for them just in case they need to get a divorce and their husbands are financially dominating them. This will give them the opportunity to stash a little money that they're getting for groceries where the husband's not going to notice that they're putting money away and paying for a lawyer instead of dropping $5,000, which most women can't afford, which is why they continue being in those abusive relationships. So we're also going to be able to give them resources for grants. A lot of women don't know that if they're a female-owned business, they are entitled to certain grants that they can apply for and to be able to help them thrive and move forward in their own careers or their own businesses. Grants for schools, grants for housing. There's so many things out there that women aren't educated enough to know that are out there. And we feel that we can give that and deliver that to them in one platform.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's significant, right? And back in 2020, I was involved in helping to get the vote out. And actually, so random, but we created a female rock band to put a song out there to get women to vote. And, I think what I was learning there is that there's things that we don't see, on that side of the spectrum that are suppressive, are obstacles,
Yeah.
So if somebody is in a situation where the other person is the main breadwinner and you have it, you actually need to get out of that situation. It sounds like women in this case who are part of, your sisterhood, they would be able to access legal representation, through the sisterhood if they found they were in a situation they really need to get out of.
Yes, and
that's very interesting.
I feel that when women are put themselves together as a unit, they're able to inform each other of their experiences and how to get away with situations that they normally feel like they're stuck in.
Right.
And
with get out of situations.
Get out of those situations, and it really helps. So when we had the Gypsy Queens, we had a lot of women that were going through cancer and realized that their closest friends were not as close as they thought they would be, and they found more of a bond with our sisterhood than they did with others. So that to me was really empowering. And when I put it down for 8 years, because I took a break for 8 years from the industry, I felt like there was something missing in my life. I felt like I wasn't doing life with a purpose. I love my children and they are my whole purpose. But as a woman, we need to identify ourselves as women and as humans first before we're mothers or anything else. And we almost get lost in the whole being a wife, being a worker, being a mother, and this is my contribution back to the community and to life and to my own, kind, which is women, to be able to give back to them. Because life to me, I measure success through how I can pay it forward and the freedom to have creativity in my life. Otherwise, to me, money does not complete me as a person.
No, there's more to life.
Yes.
Right. Chico, how did you two get connected? Where did you meet Frankie and how did that
At
come
the
about?
strip club. I'm kidding. I actually met her, if I recall. We met at casting for a show called Caso Cerrado.
Oh, that's right. Casa Cerrados with Tattoo Baby.
Yeah, it was us three, and we were gonna talk. I don't know what the fuck the subject was. But
Well,
it was,
we were the tattoo experts.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
And then she was claiming that her boyfriend stole her machines, would cost over $1,000.
She's got a good fucking memory. I just remember being there with them. That's all I remember.
But it was a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, that was my first Hispanic TV role.
Me too.
And then I was on there like 10 more times. I love that show. Hi Maria Polo, what we call it. But that's the first time, and then we bonded. She found out I was from New York and stuff like that, and she was like, "There's a convention in New York, and it's the first year. Why don't you come through?" I was like, I don't know. And she goes, "Come through," and it turned out to be one of my best conventions back then.
United Ink.
Yeah.
Yes, I was
And
an executive producer for
thanks
that.
to her, I went to the United Ink, and then you disappeared off the face of this earth.
Yes, I dropped right after that. I had
And
a
then I
child.
got a phone call. I think you called me about
the magazine.
the magazine.
Oh,
Right.
which
Yeah.
is
Well, and that's something else that you're up to, right?
Yeah.
And you're a contributor, Chico?
Yeah, I'm one of the journalists.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
feather in my cap. I got a
you go.
GED and I'm published.
There you go. There
He's
you
one
go.
of us got our GEDs because I didn't.
But yeah, she put me down with that, and that's an awesome magazine, by the way.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
So Inkvasion Magazine is a little different than most magazines. I feel that if I have a voice, I should create a movement with it. And having the responsibility of having a magazine, that's really what you should do. Because if you control the media, you control the industry is really how it works for most industries. And I feel that I needed to have the responsibility to create a different avenue. So our magazine is written by a lot of industry people. But we also choose different topics for each issue. So our first issue was ink therapy, which is mental health and sobriety, which is a taboo subject that we don't speak about because we normalize it in our industry. And we feel that that toxic behavior is something that should be accepted. But I think we've grown a lot. And through these stories, we were able to see how people have evolved as human beings through tattooing and through learning what's not okay in the tattoo industry.
They didn't give me that one.
That wasn't.
did.
They didn't have you contribute to that episode.
Chico actually
that-
is responsible for the Urban's Edge rooted in art section, which is all the urban artists, Asian, Latinos, Black, and stuff like that. Because since Urban Ink, the magazine, there really hasn't been a magazine out there that's really showcasing the minorities, because this is a very white male-dominated industry. So I felt that him being able to contribute with that aspect was a really important thing, being that he's Latino as well. You know, so we have Dawn Bennett, who's Marshall Bennett's wife. She's actually one of the owners. Chris Potts, who does the Battlefield Tattoo Convention and who's also doing the Everglades Invitational in Florida. So he's another owner. And then Jim Miller, who's a friend of Chris. He does all the tech thing, the web stuff.
Cool.
And then
these are all people that are teammates with you on the magazine.
Yes. So they're all business owners with me. And then I run, for the most part, most of the magazine. Dawn does a lot of the social media. And then Chris, because he's such a likable guy, does a lot of the ad sales. You know, so which is really cool. We have a few younger influencers like Christine Sparrow, who does the tattoo history. That's another thing our magazine's really into. We're into tattoo history preservation. So we had Marvin Markowitz, which is Bowery Stan's nephew. He did a couple of articles for us as well. But Christine has now taken over, where she's going to be leading the tattoo history preservation tour, which will get pioneers to actually go to universities to give seminars and guest speak. So that way we can spread the word on tattoo history, because they do not acknowledge us as part of the art history in the schools, which comes to my next thing. I have the TWA, which is the Tattoo Industry Women's Association that we just started. And that's going to be advocating, sponsoring, lobbying, and petitioning for the industry. And our first petition is implementing tattoo art into the art history school curriculums, because like I said, they don't even acknowledge us as part of art history, which we're the second oldest form of art. And they don't even see that as something that they should be, you know, writing about. Not to mention, our tattoo artists today are the Picassos and the Monets of this lifetime, if not better, because it's not on canvas, it's actually on skin. So they're doing exact replicas of those famous artists, but better. so we should be
I
acknowledged.
want everybody to know that there are no cue cards in here or something. I'm looking at her and I don't know how she's saying all of this and remembers everything she's saying. I would have I'm going to bed after this. I'm exhausted. It's like
because she gets so much information.
How do you deal with everything you got to deal with day by day?
Exactly.
Frankie? And if there's a little bag or something, pass it over here so I can get my work done. Jesus, how do you do it?
I'm California sober, so I don't do that anymore.
Oh my God! But then give me the organic shit you take. It's like I don't understand.
I love life.
I see that.
I love life, and
she's contagious. Like I want to do something.
I know.
It's like,
yeah, exactly.
I was like, my day was so.
I mean, when you put it, you're not eventful.
It's I need to catch up to Frankie and shit, bro. It's like,
Thank God for ADHD because that helps a lot. But you know what it is? I was a misfit and outlaw most of my life. That I never felt like I belonged anywhere except for the tattoo industry. And the music industry, definitely, for sure. But the tattoo industry just really gravitated to me because I felt like I was able to evolve and transcend from my traumas into this beautiful bliss of a person because I get to advocate for the tattoo industry, which is home to me. I actually missed it when I wasn't around doing it.
Yeah. And I had never thought about it, but Chico, I mean, when we were in school and coming up, right, nobody taught us art history that was relevant to tattooing.
Not any art that I was interested in.
Yeah, it wasn't around. It was, yet it is the art event.
Yeah, it's a new graphic designer
and
now.
It's the last physical art, right? I mean, we have apprentices, now that come into our universe that have MFAs in fine art, right? But, they're like, what am I going to do? AI is going to just take all my options. So now I want to do this physical art.
It's funny
in the human
go
body.
back to basics.
It's the last physical art and might have been the first.
Right, exactly.
That's the crazy
It
part.
was the first.
Second.
Right? What was
hieroglyphics were the first.
Oh, right. Then we realized we could put hieroglyphics on the body.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's crazy how I could go from point A to point B and no gratification.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, until Frankie spoke. Now it's like, whoa.
Thank you. Actually, another petition we're going to start is unifying the health department regulations nationwide with Kathy Monty.
That's going to be tricky.
But explain that.
So,
or the intention.
That's something I may be interested in.
So being the fact that I've toured so many conventions for so many years, I've noticed, because I'm in the back end of things and promotions and helping the promoters do what they do, I've heard the conflict that they've heard on how some artists are unable to do this because they don't, acknowledge that in their state and they need to change it. There's so much confusion in every single state. Not to mention a lot of the health departments don't know what the hell they're doing. They're treating it like a hair salon instead of like a dentist office, which it should be more of a dentist office because we're touching skin, open skin and blood and bloodborne pathogens and all that stuff. So Kathy Monty has been helping a lot with different health departments to educate them. But I feel that this should be a federal thing where it's nationwide. So that way it stays in line and that way certain states don't try to capitalize on something they have no clue what they're doing.
What do you think, Chico?
I don't know. It could be like when TV got into it. It was the best and worst thing that ever happened. I just don't know. No one knows the future. I don't know if it would be beneficial. And I know me as a traveling artist and with a crew of traveling people, if we could pay for one license instead of paying for 25
every time. Right.
There are states that you got to get licensed in their different counties.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in Georgia, it used to be if I was in Fulton, I had to get another license for Savannah, which makes no sense. I'm in Georgia, but
yeah,
I'm one of those voices that I don't squeak much. It's
I
just
hear
like,
you. I hear you. I try to not cause an issue.
Yeah, it's just like
I love
sometimes
to
it
cause
part
backfires.
of
issues.
living, and we just keep going.
I just don't know if it would be. It has its beneficial parts. I just don't know what the outcome would be after that.
Right. I guess the only thing, is like there are states like Wyoming and I think it's just Wyoming, maybe one other, where you don't need anything.
Texas.
So, bloodborne pathogen, should be
Is a
obviously the must. And that's pretty much consistent, and we're, ink difference in different states. You're in different states, right? So there's slightly different things. Some want the CPR, some don't, it's, but the bloodborne pathogen obviously is the standard.
What I never
But
understood
Wyoming
is
not.
when they get into stuff that has nothing to do with health.
Right.
If it's the health department, they should be looking at my biohazard. They should be looking at anything that's contagious or anything that could be contagious. But when you come in and you tell me that I don't have enough light for my tattoo My question is, what does light have to do with health?
Right.
And their answer is, well, you want the tattoo to come out good. I was like, but you don't even know if I know how to tattoo, and you gave me a license.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's the one thing which is real tricky.
So it's
right?
just like,
is that they, is to actually create any kind of standards for execution, of a basic, ability to execute. Oof, at a national level, I mean, it'd be crazy uphill. But as far as bloodborne pathogen, at least some states that don't require that, I could see some motion on making sure at least that's required.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think if it were to go federal, you would need a board of people who actually have something to do with the industry.
Yes, that's a must. So the reason I started the TWA is because I feel that there's going to come to a point where somebody's going to cross-contaminate, and there's going to be a news media that's going to gravitate to that story, and they're going to widespread
hepatitis
it.
is just dying to get it out there.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? But it's just like, I just feel like I can only talk about Florida because that's where I started, and that's where most of my shops are. Back in the day when I first got into Florida, there was a registered nurse that went around with the Board of Health.
They don't do that anymore.
So when the registered nurse told you something, you could argue. But at the end of the day, this lady's got, a degree in this shit. We don't.
Right. She knows.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But now, whoever comes in, whether it be male or female, doesn't have a degree in anything other than they work for the Board of Health. Which, that's not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. Now I'm going to get inspectors that hate me. But it's just like, there's nothing wrong with that. But you don't know anything about my industry. You're coming in, you're asking me about light and the temperature of the water.
And so, Frankie, do you think that there's a particular, there are organizations out there, that are trying to be like lobbyist groups or, helpful in the industry. You feel that bringing together women in particular might make the difference?
I think so. Women have the tendency of talking a lot and spreading
so
the
it's
word.
a communication thing.
Yeah. So not only that, we're more open to communicate about the problem. Where I've noticed that, so we want to.
Because Chico just mentioned, he and I are both the same. We're like, we don't rustle feathers. I mean, it's like
Girls
we get
will
stuff
ruffle
done.
feathers.
And
Yeah, if I can fly under the radar, I'm doing it.
I prefer to, even though you can't really. I mean, but
I like to be loud and proud, and the women that usually surround me usually are as well. So, like I said, somebody's going to cross contaminate, media is going to take over, and they might just shut down our industry because of fear, especially after the pandemic. So to avoid that, or to get to the point where now the government might say we need to start regulating this a little bit more, whether it's through the schools that they're not regulating right now, whether it's through changing the health department regulations or acknowledging that we're part of art history. We're gonna be there already because we're already implanted in it. So now the government knows where to go when they want to find the resources of who knows what the hell's going on, what needs to be done. And that's why I'm getting women that are in the industry, whether they're aftercare product owners, whether they're shop girls, whether they're owners, whether they're tattoo artists or pioneers. Those are the kind of women that we're looking to be part of the TWA, to be able to help us make this happen. So that way, when the government does regulate it, they know who to go to because we already implanted ourselves
But that's
in the government.
idea, right? That you're on the radar, so at least they can come to you.
Yeah.
Right?
And help go in the right direction because, like he said, we need somebody who knows what we're doing, in the industry, not some Joe Schmo who has no idea what the hell we're doing.
Right. And then the resources that you're putting together for women, right? I mean, where did that inspiration, come from? How was that born?
I lived a very hard life. I've been raped several times and molested and beaten.
Oh my goodness.
And I was in domestic violence. I had mental health issues. I was a suicidal freak for a long time. So, and I was a high school dropout and I was been in jail before. So through all that, God gave me the grace to be able to thrive and change things. So when I was able to change things, thank God for my daughter Heaven, who changed my life. I decided that my goal in this life is to empower every woman that crosses my path. Now, when we started the Gypsy Queens, my daughter and I made a commitment that we would empower every woman for the next 5 years without expecting anything in return. In other words, no monetary things. And we were poor, really poor, because I was funding everything myself. And she worked with me as a team, and we did that. And when I did that, I thought that I might have ruined her life, but now her as an adult who's 26, The biggest thing that she talks about is how I influenced her with the Gypsy Queens and how all those women influenced her because she grew up in a room full of powerful women. And I saw what a difference it made between me raising my daughter in that environment and seeing other women who didn't raise their daughters in that environment and how they're not thriving. So my daughter now continues the legacy. She empowers every woman that crosses her path. She's one of those who speak out for women, regardless of what the consequences are going to be. And I want to create that same environment for the women that are here today, because we really don't have a sisterhood in the tattoo industry, and I think we need to band together and help each other out and thrive and motivate each other to do better, because we do need to do better. Unfortunately, my opinion, I feel our country is to shit because women are choosing the wrong men and not raising their boys to be good men. And that's a big thing within women's confidence. And I feel that they feel alone, which is why they tend to make the wrong choices. And not like I haven't, trust me. I'm a shitload of fucking wrong choices in my life. But as I grew older, I realized that the reason I was doing that is because I felt alone. I felt alienated. I was broken for a long time. You got to work through your traumas to be able to become a better human being. And by paying it forward, makes you feel better. So when I'm in my fucked up space and I get into those moods, because I am a vicious bitch when people cross me, but I also hate to feel that feeling of hate. So what I do is, and I just went through that recently with a business partner, what I do when I feel that way is I go out and I go to do a good deed, and I try to inspire my children to do an act of service at least once a week.
Nice.
Which is actually one of our big questions in our application for the sisterhood. We ask, what was the last thing you did for somebody else without expecting anything in return? And based on that is based on if I allow you to be one of the upper positions or not.
I follow you. Wow. Well, thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing, that background.
Oh, my traumas.
Yeah. And, your vulnerability is courageous. And I get that it's what's bringing you forward to want to create a space where, people can come to you or women can come to you and feel, that they're part of something and they're not alone.
I'm actually grateful all those bad things happened to me, because I wouldn't have been able to inspire and empower other women, because I wouldn't be able to relate to them. So everything happens for a reason. And I just recently went through 10 years of helping raise a girl that wasn't mine, that she had her own traumas. And one of the things that I really taught her is that if you work through it, that you can make anything happen, but you have to work through it, through your traumas. And everything happens for a reason. Like now she has the voice to fight for others because of her trauma. And that's what I did. Instead of carrying it like a chip on your shoulder and you're all bitter and angry all the time, sometimes you got to take that and say, why did this happen? What am I? Why did God choose me? Maybe I'm the strong one to be able to empower others and save others. And that's what I did.
And what kind of opportunities do you think women are not taking full advantage of in the tattoo industry?
Well, one thing I do like is that now women don't have to dumb themselves down or unsexify themselves to show their worth, which I really like. Because back 15 years ago when I had the sisterhood and we were fighting for the rights for women to get apprenticeships and being well respected, a lot of women didn't want to show their beauty and their sexiness. That's part of us as women, because men would dumb them down and say, well, you're not really a good artist or you're not an artist. So that I like that change. But I do feel that women sexualize themselves a little too much. This should be a nice, happy balance. So I feel that should change a little bit. But that's really up to the individual and how they feel they're going to attract their customers. But as the older they get, they'll realize that they don't need to be flashing this around all the time. But don't get me wrong. I accentuate my boobs as much as I can when I go out.
Me too.
Just because I want to control the conversation. But there's so many things that you can get out of the tattoo industry right now. I think women need to band together and do these events, these female events, so that way they can justify who they are. Because I think women are losing their little knack in the industry because, again, they're not being taken seriously enough. Some are. But you have to do all this social media, which is ridiculous. Your art should speak for itself at the end of the day. And a lot of these award-winning artists need to recognize that they might be award-winning when they do smaller shows and they don't have competition, but they really should thrive to do the bigger shows where they have more elite artists, participating in the same contest with them. So that way they could really push themselves forward.
Follow you, Chico. When you take the crew around, the pro team, do you see in different regions of the country people reacting differently to female tattoo artists, or you see any trends from a pro team standpoint?
It's funny because the tattoo industry, as far as the customer base is concerned, is different. I would say owners. I've lived it where I've seen owners treat girls a certain way, because they're girls, sexualize and put them in positions that they shouldn't put in. I think that's why I had so many girl apprentices. Because my wife is a 100% feminist to the most, almost man-hating. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I get it. So I never was, in that position with them. But customer-wise, I've seen men talk down, but I can't say it was regional. I think it was more individual. He was just an asshole, But and all the guys in my crew treat the girls like either their little sisters or daughters. So he got spoken to real quick. But it really doesn't happen that often in conventions. The conventions are weird. Rarely does anything get stolen in a convention.
No, I don't think.
Not from an artist to artist.
No.
You understand what I'm saying?
It's usually a spectator that just comes by and takes something off the table.
There's really not that many fights at tattoo conventions, and they serve liquor.
So what about walk-in traffic, things like that?
I think a tattoo convention is one of the safest places you'll be. More than any, it's much more dangerous at a baseball or football game.
Right.
It's just like you'll get heckled and stuff like that much more than a tattoo convention. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe because I'm on the inside looking out.
Well, I mean, I've been around your pro booth and it's very chill, but I'm not there 100% of the time.
Yeah,
so
never really seen.
That's cool. And then what about with clients just coming off the streets of the shops? Do you notice that they're looking for female tattoo artists, that they're not looking for female tattoo artists?
They are. The funniest thing that ever happened to me was I had a female artist, I won't mention her, and great artist. And she sat down with the guy and she's talking to him about her vacation to Japan or something like that. Or was it the Philippines? I don't know. It was somewhere. And she said, oh, because my boyfriend, and he went, what? And she was like, yeah, I was there with my boyfriend. And conversation went silent. And then she comes to me and tells me, can you believe he walked out?
Wow.
I was like, he gave me $20 for my drawing, but he walked out. I was like, what did you do? What happened? What did you say? She goes, I told him I had a boyfriend. I said, you're kidding me, right? So yeah, he felt, well, this isn't going anywhere. I'm not gonna get a tattoo. Here's $20. You know what I'm saying? $20 and I wipe my tears. But
it's like I was ready to spend $300 if you were gonna date me.
I'll be honest with you, I don't see it anymore. I'd like to think I don't see it anymore. Before, yeah. I think that the guys or the girls who come in aren't looking for a male or female artist. They just like the art. And if it happens to be a female, so be it. It's like I had a girl with a guy's name and I had a guy with a girl's name. And, it's like when they came in, they weren't upset because, Francis was a boy or,
Sure.
And stuff. I mean, it's just weird. So it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't see it anymore. I'd like to think that everybody falls in love with the art. There are guys who are going to like, oh my gosh, he's so hot, I'm going to get a tattoo. And I'm sure there are guys like, oh my God, he's so cute, I want to get a tattoo. But I think it's all innocent up till now. I don't see it really, I don't know, I don't see it that sexualized anymore.
Gotcha.
Not anymore.
Right.
Not as much as it was 15 years ago, for sure. I feel that women have definitely come a long way with it. But I'm starting to hear a lot of stories from different girls that are emailing us and telling us about the experiences they're having in shops with, shop owners and stuff like that.
Oh, that's never going to change.
Yeah. I feel like, though, a lot of women don't realize that if you're walking into a space in a vulnerable aspect, you're going to be taken advantage of. This is not like a simple job. This is like a hardcore job.
Aspect. What do you mean? Like if you're walking in without confidence?
Yeah, without confidence, without, being assured that you are who you are as a person.
Right.
You
And I
know,
guess one day it would be great if one did
But
not,
I mean,
if a woman did not have to
there's
project
options now.
overconfidence.
yeah.
Because there's tattoo schools, there's YouTube, there's other outlets. You don't have to go to your local shop anymore. You know, so if the dude's an asshole,
Then quit.
you don't have to stay there.
Exactly.
You know, it's just like you have choices much more than you did
Back then.
maybe none back then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Either you worked at this local shop where the dude's a douche, or you got to go 50 miles away to the next shop. Now there's a tattoo shop on every corner, and I'm sure that some of them are owned by women.
Yeah. Especially
You know?
now, there's a lot.
And if you don't want, maybe she's a bitch. You know what I'm saying? Maybe she's worse than the guy. You know, so you go to a tattoo school. You know what I'm saying? Or you learn the hard way on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot more choices now for men and for women. You know?
I agree. And some are being born with certain talents on their own. That in 3 years, they're better than some artists that I've seen that have been doing it for 30
Makes some
years.
of the old school.
I think
folks
it's carbonated
nervous.
water.
It must be that.
The ones who
Must be
drank
that.
carbonated water
And the
as a
fluoride.
baby, their talents are much
And
better.
the iPads, you know.
Especially if it was like that Perrier. That seems to be.
You know, speaking of shops, actually, a lot of females have some interesting looking shops, and we're going to be doing a reality show called She Shop, which is like MTV Cribs. So we're definitely looking for females that have a cool aesthetic in their shop, in their studio, to submit some stuff.
Yeah, you have a lot going on in that universe. How much of that would you like to share?
Well, I'll share some.
There's that, right?
So
there's that
I have the
idea.
magazine. So the magazine is just the beginning steps of Tattoo View. So Tattoo View is going to be a tattoo network, kind of like Netflix for tattooed industry people or tattooed people. And we're going to have podcasts and reality shows. And then we'll have pay-per-view, which will be seminars. So that way qualified artists can teach classes, but not in just conventions, but as a whole online, as well as our next thing, which will be the Global Ink Awards. I created the first award ceremony in the industry with the United Ink Awards at Tattoo Lou's convention in 2012. And that was like a small sample of what I wanted to do. I really want to take it to the caliber of MTV Awards, where it was just a lot of celebrities, a lot of tattoo celebrities, rock stars, basketball players, and just do the whole red carpet thing, make it really emphasized. Because I feel like that's the next step. You know, nobody thought MTV was going to succeed, and it did. And I feel that we need just one network that you can find all your shows in there, you know, and pick up those
Everything
shows.
Tattoo TV.
Yeah,
all in
everything
one place.
tattoo. Exactly.
So if you really want to binge, there you go.
So we'll be doing that in the next couple of years, and I'm looking forward to that. That's like my
Sounds
baby
awesome.
project.
Yeah. I remember you sharing with me about those, and it's a pretty significant undertaking.
It is.
But you seem to have a lot of ideas mapped out, which was very, very cool.
Yeah, and I have them time framed. So that way I don't overwhelm myself, even though I still overwhelm myself. But I don't mind. I'm up at 5 and I'm done at midnight 7 days a week, and I'm willing to put in the work.
I understand.
So what are you taking, bro? It's just like
Which the key is she's not taking it.
I'm not taking it.
Yeah.
That's why
And as someone who's on the
I don't
same
have
path that
men
doesn't
in my
take
life.
anything,
I don't have men
it's
in my
really
life either.
something, you know?
But you're married.
Not to a man. It's like
So I don't have relationships.
me
Like,
either. I'm married.
My kids are self-sustainable right now, so I raised them and trained them in the past couple of
You
years.
met my 10-year-old. He's 42.
He's ready to go.
It's like he's ready to go to college. It's
my
like
13-year-old for sure.
so. Explain to me what I'm doing wrong.
And I'm just dedicated every day to get up at 5. And so my first 2 hours is social media and cleaning out my emails before I get to the real emails. And then my last 2 hours is research and development. And in between there, I'm hustling to survive because I'm still a single mom and I'm behind the 8 ball because I didn't finish high school and I didn't do what my mother told me to do. And I lost all these opportunities because I was an idiot and I was too busy having fun like a rock star, which I'm not regretting because I did have fun. But
That
now I
was the
feel
chapter.
like I'm catching up. Like I need to, it's like a race for me against me
Yeah.
almost.
All right. So I'm gonna wake up tomorrow at 5, and I'm gonna do social media for 2 hours. Then I'm gonna have a peanut butter and egg sandwich, and then I'm gonna call you
Well, you got
Just
the
to-
protein in there. That
to
does
see
help.
what I do next. All right, because that's all I'm gonna go back to sleep after the peanut
And
butter.
I
jelly
do
sandwich.
have a huge whiteboard in my office to show me what project I'm up to and what I need to work on. So that kind of helps.
All right, now buy
Yeah, it's pretty great productivity hacks.
whiteboard and expo. Got it.
Very cool. So, what would you like to see in the next maybe 24 months for women in the industry?
Wow. I want them to unify for the most part. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see them band together. I'd like to see some of the females that I know that are in the process of a divorce thrive and actually get what they deserve instead of being pushed down by these men that are in the industry that are trying to block them from being in the industry. So I'd like to see those girls happy and thriving without the chaos and drama that they had to live with.
Right. We had dinner with one of those.
Yes, we did. And she's a good friend of mine. As a matter of fact, the owners of the Sisters by Ink are going to be me, Miranda, who owned Native Ink in Panama City. We've got Esther Hanuko, which is actually a supermodel in the tattoo industry, and Heather Shepard, who was actually one of my old presidents of the Gypsy Queens. So between the four of us, we're hoping that we can make this running machine actually happen by next October, hopefully.
Yeah. Wow. So looking forward to it. Well, you definitely have our support.
Thank you.
At Ink Different, and I'm sure at Mark for Life as well.
Thank you.
She's had me around forever.
Yes.
Yeah, you're very, very inspiring. Where can people follow up with you and follow everything you're doing? And where can they see these manifestations in the world as well?
So Tattoo Socialite Arts Festival is on all social media under
just give it slower.
Tattoo Socialite Arts Festival.
Okay, so everyone gets it.
And that's artsfestival.com for the website.
Awesome.
Tattoo View, it's going to be for a while. We're just going to be doing a lot of castings and filming in the back end because it takes a couple of years to make sure everything's set in stone.
For sure.
And then we can launch it.
But if people see Tattoo View, they know it's you.
Yeah, if it's
Okay, got
Tattoo View, View TV, they know it's me.
Okay, cool.
What else do I have going on? I got so many. Oh, Inkvasion. Inkvasionmagazine.com is the magazine, which is in print and digital. And we also have the website itself as a hub. So we choose our favorite artist, shop, band, and different things online. So that way you can see what we have going on top of our hot picks that are in the magazine itself.
Cool. And then the organization that's going to be lobbying to get tattoo education in art history.
So TWA is going to be on Tattoo Socialite Arts Festival page. And so is the Sisters by Ink until we spin it off into its own website, which will be soon. But TWA will be connected to the Sisters by Ink under its own section in there.
Cool.
And real quick, you said some stuff at the beginning of the podcast.
I forgot.
About your trauma and stuff like that. I'm sure that if we have any women who are in your position, somehow they feel bonded. And what if they wanted to reach out to you or something?
They can go under Frankie Scorpion, Frankie_Scorpion on my Instagram, and they can reach out at any time. We are going to be taking and filming different testimonies from females to see what their journey is. Just like our magazine, we're all about the journey. It's not about being the best artist or who's most popular. It's really about hearing the journey because really we get tattooed. Everyone gets tattooed to express their journey or their experiences. And that's what we really want from everybody is to open up. It's time. It's time for us to really elaborate what our pains, our joys, because that's how, that's like real life, not all this glam shit that's on TV or the websites or the internet.
Yeah, I think Chico makes a good point. Certain people, unfortunately, are going to have a certain kinship and relationship to some of the trauma things that you shared, So thank you for being so honest about it. And
thank you for having me to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like I want to apologize on behalf of shitty men, but I wasn't there. But I'm hoping the world is going to be
some of those men I dealt with.
We're all trying to empower a world, where that's not,
I feel like a lot of women need to change things, for themselves and for their children. I lived a very wild life. I was not just a stripper. I was also a high-end escort for a long time and a dominatrix. And through all that, I was able to have restraint with my son. So I haven't had a relationship in 10 years because I wanted to make sure that my son wasn't surrounded by my bad choices, And so if I can keep my legs closed and that drama away from my children, I think other women should start doing the same thing. So that way they can raise better men. And only allow the correct people surrounding you. And that's including friends too, because friends can be toxic as well. But I think women tend to gravitate to men because they feel the need to feel wanted, needed, provided for. We could all do that ourselves, and work through our own traumas to be able to pick the right man. But you can't pick the right man unless you're doing the right thing as a woman or a partner for that matter. It could be a male or a woman.
Well said.
Yeah. All right, one more time. If people want to reach out to you directly, how do they find you?
Frankie_Scorpion on Instagram.
Wonderful. Thank you for being
All right.
here.
Thank you for having me, guys.
And we're out.
Remember, if you like what we're doing, follow, share, and subscribe.
And if you really like what we're doing, please give us a 5-star review. It really helps.